Okay, should be live. Welcome back, everyone. I just noticed that yesterday's stream was a bit on the noisy end because of my mic. Turns out my fan was set on a stronger setting than normal, and I didn't have my noise cancelling cardboard box over my mic. Yeah, it is like an actual box that I just put in front of my mic, and then it kind of stops the fan from totally overwhelming it. But other than that, then it should be a little bit clearer to hear me now. Also, I've just been kind of generally sleep deprived yesterday, so I was just not in a very coherent mood that time. But what we're doing is we're back on the Project 1, the grind, and I'm trying to, I guess, sort of figure out the cast and draw more of them. And it's gonna be another one of those chill drawing streams as usual. So let's see. So what I'm trying to do now is draw one of those characters I showed off yesterday. Alexis was the name, and see, I guess, sort of establish a sort of figure out what is the general aesthetic for the characters here based on the existing characters I'm using, because if I am going to be recycling characters, yeah, so I guess that's sort of like the topic for today's stream, is the idea of recycling OCs and such in your projects, because so obviously I posted about this on Twitter a little bit, but the idea, so if you've played Honkai Star Rail or any of the Hoyoverse games, you would know that quite a lot of the characters like Himeko and Vanya and Sela, they're all existing characters from Honkai Impact, but they've been kind of reused in that new game. Although yes, it's sort of like kind of the same universe. No, not the same universe. It seems like it's an alternate timeline altogether. But yeah, it's sort of like the idea that they made an AU of their own original property, and are just recycling the characters for that. It kind of intrigued me, and even in Genshin, which I guess is the more popular cousin to Honkai, even in Genshin, I believe it recycles a lot of Honkai characters, although in that sense it's been, the differences are a bit more clear, like they actually like redesign the characters and give them different names and such. But some characters like Raiden and Yae Miko were definitely very similar to their Honkai counterparts, although their names were slightly different. Like Yae Miko was Yae Sakura in Honkai Impact, and Raiden Mei became Raiden Shogun. So those characters were quite different in terms of like their role and appearance, at least like the outfits and such. They have different backstories as well. Like Like Raiden in Honkai Impact is like, I think one of like the students of like the academy in that setting, whereas Raiden Shogun in Genshin is like the ruler of the Inazuma nation. So clearly a vastly different backstory, but it's still very clearly the same Raiden from that other game that's just been carried over to Genshin. And even with the Nasuverse, so I had like a conversation with a server member, Kolia, and as it turns out, a lot of the Nasuverse characters, which is basically the universe that Fate Stay Night, Melty Blood, Tsukihime, those all belong to that same universe. A lot of them also recycle a lot of characters. If I can probably look it up, I could probably find a way to actually compare the two. But yeah, some characters from the Nasuverse, not all of them. I think it's usually some of the more unknown side characters, but they've been sort of carried over from some of their older games into Fate, into the Fate universe, which is kind of the more famous, the famous installment in the Nasuverse, which is what most of those characters are known for. But I would assume that in that context as well, a lot of the characters are quite different from what they were initially conceived as. And so now this concept has kind of fascinated me, because it's not really something I've put much thought into before, like recycling characters, because initially I didn't think it was that common of a thing, or rather I didn't actually have like a very high view of it last time. I thought, I was sort of kind of anal to the fact that you had to like design new characters for new series or whatever that you make, especially if it's like set in a different universe. It didn't really occur to me that you could just do whatever the hell you want and recycle whatever characters that you liked. I mean, of course I knew it was a thing, but I didn't really entertain the notion. So but then to find out that not only was it done, it was also done by quite a bunch of famous creators for like very famous franchises. Clearly it was quite interesting to see, because that meant that even like famous artists and creators or companies, they too have like an attachment to their OCs, basically, right? And the idea that even someone with the resources of like Hoyoverse or like the Fate Stay Night Nasuverse creators, they of course had the resources and the manpower to like get character designers and like make whatever new characters they wanted, but they still chose to recycle these old designs, and these old characters, sometimes even like keeping the entire name and design across multiple franchises. So clearly attachment to your OCs is quite a common thing, even even in the professional sphere. So that fascinated me because I've never really done it before. So that's currently now what I'm sort of exploring. Because there are a lot of OCs that I like from a lot of my past projects, but because I was resistant to the idea of recycling them before, I never really like recycle them. I sort of try to take extra effort into making new designs, or even if I made a similar character, I would basically try to redesign them or give them a new identity. It never really occurred to me to just take them and recycle them wholesale. But now, when you're at my age and you start losing your zest for life, as it were, and it's just harder to make like new things that you can enjoy. The idea of recycling the OCs that you already like is a very appealing prospect, to say the least. Yeah, but it's almost like as an artist you kind of get to make your own multiverse, I guess, where like letters and punctuation said, it's like making your own multiverse where I guess if you're an established enough creator, your fans would already kind of recognize your projects and your characters because they keep cropping up multiple times. So even if you keep making different settings or different franchises or stories or whatever, the fact that your followers can recognize and even get invested into any new project simply because they see a lot of familiar characters, that's actually quite a smart move, actually, especially if you're I think it might be even more beneficial for smaller creators, simply because obviously for like not overly famous creators like me, we would get a lot of benefit from leveraging whatever few fans we have of our existing characters and maintaining that interest across multiple different projects that we make, and it just makes things easier for us as well in terms of like new character designs and all that. That's kind of what we're experimenting with today. And so right now I've just been sort of trying to redraw some of these old OCs and sort of figure out how they would fit into this new project 1 setting that I'm trying to make. So right now I need to look up some round glasses. Most of them must say it's a pretty interesting idea to explore. I'm kind of unlearning a few things that, or rather unlearning a few mindsets that I kind of entrenched in myself and like, you know, philosophies that unnecessarily made me have to do more work that I kind of didn't have to do, in terms of having to design new characters every time I started a new project. But here, clearly, I probably didn't have to do that in the first place. Protagonist girl. We get the protagonist. So right now we're still cooking. As from the previous streams, we're still kind of cooking the general world and setting, and also the aesthetics of it. So kind of wanna nail these down progressively over time. So as with all the previous streams, it's all just been one big development stage where you guys are watching me progressively figure out what to do with this project, because I've been wanting to play around with this setting for a while now, and having a way to actually document my progress and see how it evolves over time is a cool idea I can explore. So this character was originally from Mousebell's Steel, and she already had an existing outfit from there, which is this one. Let me find it. Hey Lida, welcome to the stream. So yeah, for this character I could reuse this. Let me grab this camera real quick. Right, so still determining whether I want to put the design like a set uniform for this magic place, because we were already kind of having a sort of aesthetic going on with like the wizard robes in some of the previous streams, so I think we'll probably have to stick to that in some degree. See how I can sort of change things up, sort of match the OCs as well. I guess I could look up more robe. Ideas on Pinterest. So if I were to do that, then let me pull up my browser. No, maybe not. It's not picking it up. But I'm just gonna look through real quick. So for wizard robes, let's quite a few ideas to work with. Some of them, yeah, I guess the idea of like hoods and stuff as well. So if I were to give her a hood, then let's say erase most of this. Just keep playing around different outfit ideas. You do want to capture some of that mage aesthetic because it is a very mage focused setting, so you kind of want to nail that early on, because if we can sort of get a sense for the aesthetic of this setting early on, that will help determine how the other characters will look. Because we do kind of want to have like a hybrid modern slash fantasy look, kind of similar to RWBY. So kind of want to have a mix of that wizard aesthetic, but with some modern elements in it, which we're trying to figure out here. There's quite a few directions we will go with it. Yeah, the uniform does inform the world building, because it informs the general aesthetic of the world. Like the wizard robes in Skyrim are definitely like very different from the wizard aesthetic in Harry Potter, for example, because Harry Potter is set in like a more, modern England setting, so their robes will combine with like the British school uniform look, whereas if like Skyrim or whatever, it's more clearly a fantasy-esque aesthetic. So that's what we're trying to figure out here, is to sort of figure out a balance. So again, we're just gonna do a lot of designing today. Yeah, I do want capes. Can't do without the capes. Because one thing I want to do also was kind of evoke the vibe of like a YA novel, right? So, and by YA novel I mean like that kind of general YA novel aesthetic or genre, because that particular, it is a demographic, but when people say like YA novel or whatever, it has very clear tropes associated with it. So it's kind of what I wanted to emulate as well. Maybe the cape going towards the middle. Maybe an emblem here. progressively figuring out the design here. Okay, recycle the outfits from here. There's another character. Alright. That. Okay. Think I like where this is going. Okay. The cape. How's the cape fit this? Yes, if it's sewn into... maybe the cape is sewn into the uniform itself, meaning along this line. Or as a separate part. I think we prefer it to be separate. Hey Uncle. Oh, managed to catch one of my streams today. Right now just recycling and redesigning OCs for this new project. Let's see. I like the general direction here. I'll need to probably draw, so I guess the goal now is I'm gonna have to draw multiple characters wearing this uniform to see what kind of variations we can have with the uniform styles, and make sure that's like a good variety of designs we can have between them. Who's the protagonist? I don't know yet. I prefer to think about it more as like an ensemble type cast, because this is generally the kind I prefer. Like, the moment I start to think about like needing a protagonist, as in like a main character, I find that my brain just shuts down. Like, for some reason, whenever like I can think up of like side characters or supporting characters very easily, but the moment I have to make like a protagonist main character, I sort of like don't know what to do, because it feels like the protagonist has to be really like general. They can't be like too extreme into one direction or another. So in most cases, it feels like the protagonists I make either feel like kind of boring or they lack substance. So that's why I'd rather make like a full ensemble of characters first, which have like good dynamics between each other, who can interact with each other well, and then only then do I start figuring out who might be a good protagonist from there. That's the sort of approach I found has worked for me, even with like of course with like the RWBY stuff I did and like Voyager. All of those were like ensemble type casts, and of course they have like main characters, but it's really like I only sort of like figured out those main characters after I figured out like how their dynamic works with like the other characters in their team. Keep assigning new characters. Let's try Zen next. Maybe I'll make a new file just for this, so I have more space to work with. So grab these two layers. So what I like to do when designing my characters is I sort of design a whole bunch of characters at once, and then from the ones I like the most, I determine who are the main characters that I want to use. It's a bit of a weird method, but I found it works for me at least, where it's almost like I'm sort of narrowing them down in my head, which ones feel the most interesting to work with and draw, and from there I determine which ones should be like the main characters. So that's what I'm kind of doing now. I'm just sort of like drawing a whole bunch of OCs of past OCs, and then seeing which ones I like the vibe of the most. maybe I'll draw them with their hoods down first. Copy of this. Down by default, so we can get a better view of all the hairstyles, the hairstyle variation between them. What I normally do, rather a pattern that I've had for my OCs lately, is all of them, I kind of like use Team RWBY as like a template for like my OCs a lot of the time, because the general template of Team RWBY is really like versatile to work with, because they all have like very balanced dynamics between each other. They have like a good contrast between their personalities, because you got like, you know, the main character RWBY, and they have like the Wise, who's like the tsundere one, and then you have Yang, who's kind of the more fun tomboy type, and then if Blake, who's more of the reserved character. So there's really like a good variety of personalities. So, and across like all my recent projects so far, and by recent I mean like within the past 2 to 3 years, that's just kind of the approach I've taken with like my OCs in general. It's just sort of like taking Team RWBY and then sort of varying some of the designs. I mean, of course I'm gonna redesign it completely, but varying some like the character dynamics and other aspects of them, so that, you know, it's not a complete carbon copy, which I did with Voyager, as well as I'll spell it Steel, where it kind of usually has like 4 to 5 characters as a base, and then they kind of will more or less design to parallel certain RWBY characters right off the bat. So Xian, what I'm expecting is Xian is sort of the equivalent of the Wise character, meaning she's of noble birth, kind of serious, is also like a tsundere type character. So that's kind of part of the role she'll be occupying in this ensemble. And then I have a few other characters that I'm thinking of including, which we'll get to quite soon after this one. Why I like to draw ensembles together is because I like designing multiple characters at the same time. Number one, because ADHD, and number two is because by designing them all at the same time, I can see how well they look next to each other to see, make sure there's like a good variation of appearances between all four of them, that they don't look too similar to each other, and then later when I'm gonna color them, that they don't share like two similar color schemes as well. So I like drawing them all like together in like one big image, lineup image like this, which is what I did for the last time I drew these characters, which is like this, which was under the same kind of mindset that I had, which is like sort of drawing all the characters together, and then just like in the thick of it, in the middle of illustrating a full lineup of these characters, I'm like figuring it out all at once. I'm figuring out their hairstyle, their designs, what clothes they wear, the variation of their clothes, the variation in their hairstyles, and even like their personalities, with like how they pose, the general vibe they give off. So I like working this way and just like in one big picture multitask and figure out like every aspect of the character all in one sitting, basically. Yeah, Savasa is a character from Deathless Lily. I'm wondering if she will make a return here as well. I'm not sure if it'll be in the main group. I'm still wondering about that because there's a bunch of other characters I want to recycle as well. Yeah. do want to give us some facial mark of some sort. Probably a scar. Get that for now. The next one I wanted to draw was cat. Are you thinking of Project 1 being an animation style story or a new comic? I really am not sure yet. Because I've been sort of drawing it like a lot of different ways, or rather experimenting a lot of different ways. Like cause for like Voyager and Our Spell of Steel, they ended up being like tabletop RPG settings. For this one, I'm thinking of maybe like writing a story for it, because I was a bit interested in like writing a full-length novel. I've sort of written some stuff before, like fanfic and stuff for like NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. But never like a fully finished novel thing, so that's one of the avenues I'm considering for this as well. But you know, it's, I guess it's one sort of mindset I'm trying to sort of not think too hard about is that, you know, that projects like these need to have like a set format or medium, because if it's just like a fun story or world for your OCs, I think, you know, it doesn't really like matter like that they have to be like within like, has to be like a book or it has to be a video or whatever. It can just be whatever you want it to be, as long as, you know, people can recognize the characters and like, you know, they know where to find content relating to those characters. I think it should be fine whatever I make it as. Have a working title in mind, but I kind of want to reveal it a little bit later once I finalize more of the world and the characters, I guess. Just basically once the story has a bit more flesh and bone to its structure, then I guess I'll go ahead with the actual title. Fourth character might be Gwyn, because I wanted to recycle her as well. How on earth did I draw her hair last time? Let me check. got a certain method to drawing cat's hair that I keep forgetting. Right, there were 2 layers of this. Find it from a different view. This one. Right, okay. I think I get it now. So there's a bunch of other characters I do wanna recycle as well, like Fenoria, which is another Deathless Lily character. Though she may not be part of the main team, she always gave me more of like a senpai type character, like, or like a leader who's like a fair bit older than the main cast. So she'll probably be like part of either like a graduate or almost graduating team of wizards, or she might even be like a teacher compared to the other characters. Way bigger. Put the hair on a different layer so that I don't have to be less of a hassle when I draw the line out. It actually has 6 buttons, not 4. And I already can kind of sense a few different dynamics forming just from like the vibe and personality I'm getting from the characters. So if this girl is sort of like the RWBY, then Zen is kind of like the Wise, and then Cat is, her vibe is giving me like a Yang vibe, meaning it's like the kind of the fun one of the group. So then obviously what I like to do is mix things up so it's not like a complete copy of the original Team RWBY. So obviously Gwyn is very much not a Blake archetype at all. So she sort of helps break that mold a little bit. Although I might, expand this lineup just to design more characters and then decide what the main group's gonna be, and then maybe the remainder characters could belong to like the B team, like the Juniper equivalent. So that's through like process of elimination basically. How on earth did I draw Gwyn? This is why I need references. Right, this how she looked like. outfit looks quite different because she was originally a RWBY OC, so her outfit is very much looks like a part of a combat outfit. So maybe there's some character design questions we can pose from like how her design is more different than the others. It could be that she's from a different culture altogether, which is why she wears kind of very different looking clothes from the others. From design alone, you could probably start some questions start getting formed about who the characters are and what their backstory might be. Expand this more, can add more characters to it. Let me brush up Cat a little bit more. So what I do with Cat's hair is I just make the whole entire shape first, which is the kind of sheet look that her hair has. Then I erase parts of it to add like the notches and lines in the hair to kind of break it up so actually it looks like hair, not like just one big mass. Let's add those in. Starts looking more like the actual hair. Next up, probably Fenoria. So she is either an upperclassman or teacher, so I can vary her design a bit more. Fenoria is a quite an old OC of mine. She's quite old at this point. At least 5 years old, I'd say. Definitely a lot. Definitely at least 5. She's evolved a lot over the years. So I would very much like to recycle her and have a star in an actual story if I could. just has a very distinct look to her that I've never really like captured with other characters before, so every time I just sort of end up coming back to her design. So that's probably a sign that I should use her as liberally as possible. Without using reference, I just sort of already know how to draw her, like pretty much immediately. That's how familiar I am with her design at this point. Because she has a very clear identifiers for appearance, like her hair and her eyes and her face shape, that makes it very easy for me to draw. Shape of her hair is just basically like it's like one giant triangle shape, so whenever I draw it's almost like this kind of umbrella shape to her hair. suit type of deal. She had like this arm things going on. So she had like these where's the suit? And she had these sort of magic limiters or turbines or whatever they call on her arms. One of the more notable aspects of her design. So the idea was behind this character was that she had so much mana or magical energy or whatever that she needed like limiters basically. So she has these things on her arms to help limit her power, otherwise it will end up overflowing and causing a lot of destruction. The arm could be a bit Given the variety in the outfits here, I could actually give Xian her original outfit. Let me play around with it a bit more. Basically. this might also work for the other characters. I could use this as a template for the actual robe part of the outfit itself. Visual interest going on now. I don't think all of them need to wear robes, so it'll be a bit of a variation. Maybe the way that the robe is cut as well. It like that for now. So cat, she had for cat she actually had a bodysuit thing. Starting to get a sense for what the uniform is, like the general design theme, which is sort of like mainly like this top that they have, but then there's also a fair amount of variation between each character and how they wear that uniform. So for Cat, she has this sort of exoskeleton suit underneath clothes. this is another OC, Stygia. Stygia is, I guess she's sort of is kind of a Blake-ish character, more calm and reserved. She might be part of the B team, judging from the looks of things. Audrey is the other candidate I had for like a protagonist, so it's either between like this girl, Alexis, or Audrey. So I think if it's one or the other, like probably one will be the leader of one team and then the other be the leader of the other team, is what I'm thinking. So end the stream soon because I need to probably go and have lunch or something, but right after I finish Audrey here. But tomorrow I'm gonna continue this because there's a few more characters I had in mind that I wanted to draw out. Even like some male characters, surprisingly. So I might draw that on tomorrow's stream. Are there going to be any antagonists? Yes. There will definitely be, because I imagine there'll be like fighting monsters and stuff. So there will at least be like monster enemies for them to fight. But as for like maybe human antagonists, I think there probably would be. I may have a rough idea of who I might want to use for those, but as of right now, no one comes to mind. But I think there probably would be human antagonists. So far it does seem that everyone in the cast appears to be human. Not sure if I'm gonna add like non-human characters yet. that, already done this lineup for now. I think actually drawing out the characters helped quite a bit in figuring out the general aesthetic we want out of this particular story. And with the outfits, there is like a nice mix of like kind of very clearly fantasy looking clothes, but with like kind of has like a modern elements to them, just in like the way the clothes look, and some of like the more magic tech stuff on them. I think we got a good spread of the characters we can use here, so I'll save this first. This is 9,000 pixels long. Let me show that. So with that, I can end the stream here and continue. We'll continue right where we leave off here tomorrow, where we do even more characters for this lineup. Even draw some guys, which is quite unusual for this channel. And then once we have like kind of the lineup for all the characters I want to make, then I can start sort of like categorizing them, seeing which team do they belong to. Are they like a student or a teacher or like an upperclassman? Sort of just mixing around their dynamics and see where they would actually fit into the story. So that's for tomorrow. And so thank you all for joining for this today's stream. I probably upload this onto Twitter like later in the day, but for now we shall head off, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.